Hi, Gemini, and welcome to your March 2024 horoscope. Good news, there's a lot less Pluto energy in March. So that's good to hear. However, March does also signal the start of eclipse season. So it's still not going to be a walk in the park. We might still have some lessons coming our way that we need to respond to. But I mean, that's what all of life is about, right? Learning and growing. Let's get into what you can expect day by day in March. We start off on March 3rd with Venus in your 9th house, squaring Uranus in your 12th house. A huge part of your belief system and how you've carried yourself in the world for at least the last month has been with this sort of underlying sense of beauty and peace and harmony. However, on this day, that might be challenged a bit by all of the intense things you're feeling inside, all of the emotions that might, one day be positive, one day a little bit more challenging. And it might make it really difficult for you to keep up with this determination that you've had in showing up in the world and being a human being that acts from love and acceptance and peace. On March 5th, we have Mars, also in your 9th house, sextiling and trining the nodes in your 11th and 5th house. All of the work that you've been doing on your values and showing up in the world in a way that's authentic to you is making it a little bit more easier for you to think in the long term. Sometimes you might have had a tendency to only focus on the here and now, to make sure you have a good time, to make sure you are enjoying your life. But because, Pluto entered your 11th house and you have been really thinking about like, hey, who am I? What do I stand for? What do I believe in? And you're sort of encouraged to really think along those lines. It's really also helping you to start thinking a little bit more about the future. Where do you see yourself heading in the next couple of years? On March 9th, Mars continues to travel through your 9th house and eventually reaches the point where Venus was at the beginning of the month, and it squares Uranus. So Mars square Uranus can be a bit more of an explosive day, and this is because both of the planets can be quite intense. Mars is power and drive and courage, and Uranus can be a lot of unexpected situations and chaos sometimes as well. I really see this day as you being quite vocal and quite open to the rest of the world about your values, about your belief systems, about the way you make sense of the world. But as a result, on your internal level and how you really feel and what you really think, it might be causing a little bit of unstableness. And you might sometimes be thinking, at least internally to yourself, yeah, but is that really the way I feel? Or, yeah, but I also see this side of the story, so I'm not really sure if that's completely what I believe. So there might be a bit of a disjointedness between how you show up in the rest of the world, which is quite clear, quite straightforward. It seems to those around you that you have entire life figured out, you have the meaning and the point of this whole thing figured out. But internally, you might still be struggling and thinking about it quite a bit. On March 10th, there is a new moon in Pisces in your 10th house. A new moon is a new beginning, and for you, this is happening with your career. And because we have Saturn nearby, this is quite a serious new beginning. So it's possible that you are putting in some routine in place that really makes sure you excel in your career. I could really imagine this as saying, okay, I'm going to work an extra hour after work every evening to make sure that I put together a to-do list for the next day of the things that really matter, the things that I want to prioritize for the next day. And, perhaps all of this reflecting that you've been doing on the meaning of life and your values are giving a fresh spark into your career and into the way you want to show up there. One thing I would encourage you during this new moon is to follow your intuition. The new moon is in Pisces. And what actually works really well for you, Gemini, is to follow your intuition all the time in regards to your career. When you follow your intuition in your career, that's when beautiful things happen for you. On March 11th, Venus also enters Pisces and your 10th house. So we see that now from this day forward, you might start bringing some beauty and peaceful and harmonic activities into your career space. This could literally mean like decorating your office space so it feels more cozy and more homey. It could mean starting to treat your colleagues to a coffee in the morning so you can bring that beautiful beginning to their day. On March 20th, we have the Sun entering Aries, or your 11th house. So even though you're still quite focused on your career, because we have so many planets in Pisces in March, with the Sun entering your 11th house, we see slowly that you're also starting to zoom out a bit and start to think about the future in a larger sense. You are starting to wonder how you can meet the right people, how you can put yourself in the right position to have a bigger impact into where you want to go, right? It's about, on a very basic level, realizing like, hey, in a couple of years, I want to earn more money. So how can I position myself in a strategic way so that I can maybe get that promotion? On March 21st, Venus finally catches up with Saturn in your 10th house and they become conjunct. Even though they're both quite different planets from each other, on this day, they're going to influence each other quite a bit. So Saturn might bring a bit of seriousness and a sort of like a harsh reality to the harmonic activities that you've been doing in your career. So remember, we talked about the coffee that you bring to your colleagues or decorating your office. And Saturn is going to say, does that really matter? Is that how we really want to bring peace and harmony here? And it could make you realize that actually, no, what really matters for me is that I go into every work meeting with an intention to understand, an intention to continue to remember that all of these humans here at this table are humans with their own struggles. Likewise, Venus will make an impact on Saturn. So one of the examples that we used earlier was that Saturn in your 10th house is you saying, all right, I'm going to spend an extra hour at the end of the day to put together my to-do list for the next day. And Venus is going to say, hey, Saturn, can we loosen up a bit? Can we bring a little bit of flowiness and a little bit of beauty into this structure, into this routine? So, this could mean that you maybe continue the routine, but now while you're doing it, you put on some beautiful music in the background. Or it could mean that you do that activity with someone else. You do that with a coworker, and both of you together really talk about, okay, what's top priority for us and for our work for the following day. On March 23rd, Mars also enters your 10th house. So Gemini, there's a lot of career focus for you in March if you haven't noticed yet. The way I really see this day is that the insights that you just had from the conjunction between Venus and Saturn is sort of rejuvenating you and bringing you a lot more energy and excitement in your career. So you might feel especially courageous, you might feel a lot of energy, a lot of motivation to focus on your career as well. On March 24th, Venus in your 10th house is sextiling Jupiter in your 12th house. This has the potential to be a really beautiful day because it's two beautiful planets and they have a harmonious aspect between them. So all of the peaceful energy that you've been bringing into your workspace, into your career, might result into a bit more of a calmness in your internal world. And it might result to you feeling more aligned internally, and like finally what you feel on the inside is also what you show on the outside. On March 25th, we have a full moon in Libra in your 5th house. Because the South Node and North Node are quite close to the Sun and the Moon, they're about 10 degrees away, this full moon is also a partial lunar eclipse. So this marks the beginning of eclipse season. Notice what happens on this day because it might be a repeating theme for you in the eclipse season. And for you, Gemini, because we're talking about your 5th and 11th house, we are taking a look at all of the ways that you are sacrificing your future for immediate satisfaction and immediate pleasure. Are you trying to get immediate gratification, to really have a good time in the day-to-day, and forgetting to really stand up for yourself and fight and put in the work towards building something greater in the future? And finally, we close off the month on March 28th with Venus in your 10th house, sextiling Uranus in your 12th house. We've chatted already a little bit that perhaps your inner world feels a little bit of an up and down movement during March, that you're feeling a lot of things. One day you're feeling really good, and the other day it's a lot more challenging. But the way we close off the month, I really see that there could be something beautiful happening in your career that helps you with all of this vitality internally, that feels a bit more stabilizing, and that allows you to start to appreciate your unique feelings and to maybe even start to accept them and love them. So overall, Gemini, this is a great time for your career. And we're also starting eclipse season in March, which means that you might start thinking again about pleasure today versus sacrifice for tomorrow. And sometimes this can be quite difficult. So this eclipse season might try to bring to your attention if you have a bit of disbalance there. Overall, though, Gemini, I hope you enjoy March. I hope you show up in your career and do the scary things, show up authentically, and go ahead and excel there. I'm very excited for you. If you want to make sure that you catch the April horoscope, then make sure you subscribe. I hope to see you again soon.